finals, the loser takes third place in the tournament. And I'll let you take the bans from here.
Already jumping in, Avanti's Angles getting rid of the Alchemist. Top 5 getting rid of the Bristleback. 2 strength heroes, both of whom have extreme versatility and a lot of potential damage output. Neither team wants to give those up. Top 5 getting rid of the Bristleback tells me that they might not want to see a lot of mid-game aggression. They very likely could end up running for a ganking lineup, and there's the Visage Band as well, another early mid-game aggressive hero. They're definitely trying to take out some of the ability of Avanti's Angles to command the pacing in the mid-game. Avanti's Angles, meanwhile, getting rid of the Slark, who is often considered in the West to be maybe a little overpowered. Very common pick, very hard to handle, especially with his built-in heart and uncounterable invisibility. Alchemist, one of the most flexible heroes in the game, can play just about any position and do it well, at least for the time being. Avanti's Angles getting the Death Prop and the Venomancer. They're going for a push strat.
Yep, and they actually have the push and the anti-push if Venomancer is really good at that. But typically we see Timbersaw and Venomancer getting picked up together. So Avanti's Angels removing that possibility for top 5 to run that really strong, slow damage combo. And with Death Prophet and Venomancer, you've got a lot of damage going out in team fights. You cannot let Death Prophet stay alive. And these team fights are all that physical damage will go down and take you to death. Meanwhile, you got Venomancer's Poison Nova completely draining you. So a lot of damage already coming out from Avanti's Angles. Top 5 are going to want to try to think tankiness. They're going to want to try to think avoiding those big, nasty team fights and getting rid of high-priority targets very early. And
There's the Crystal Maiden.
Yep.
That's no surprise with the Timbersaw. Crystal Maiden's, Arcane Aura, very effective with the Timbersaw, who has a tendency to have a little bit of trouble with his mana pool.
Yeah, very early on, he does struggle with that. And also Crystal Maiden, just one of those supports that at the moment are large and in charge. I mean, you expect to see the Crystal Maidens, the Venomancers, the Alchemists, the Visages somewhere in the first series and picks of bans, and this game we're seeing all of them in the first set. So it's going to be interesting to see where this goes. Both teams going for a pretty flexible lineup. I mean, I've seen Death Prophet lane pretty much anywhere. Venomancer can do a lot of different things, whether I've actually seen him off lane a few times, but he's a very good roaming support, as is Crystal Maiden. Timbersaw can play in a lot of different positions. There's a lot of places that both teams can go.
Yeah, what's interesting to me, or what will be interesting to me, is to see whether Avanti's Angles wants to take this as a defensive or offensive tri-lane. Considering they're going for the push strat, it doesn't make a lot of sense for them to do 2-1-2, because they want an early game advantage. So they'll go for a tri-lane, almost certainly, probably with some roaming support. Now, do they go for the defensive tri-lane and try to grab an early tower in their safe lane, or did they do the aggressive tri-lane and just force it down their opponent's throat, then pick up somebody along the lines of, say, a Luna to run that off lane? They've got a Nature's Prophet, so that's going to imply a defensive tri-lane.
And with a Nyx Assassin pickup, that's going to imply a lot of roaming and a lot of ganking.
Yeah,
so already you've got the counter push of the Timbersaw, which is going to help versus the Nature's Prophet, not so much versus the Death Prophet. Wow, Prophet team. Anyway. But yeah, the DK was banned out by top 5, which I think is a really smart ban. Not because, not because DK actually falls short of against Timbersaw, which, I mean, in which case would be counterproductive. But just because DK is one of those picks that you get to push towers early.
Yeah, and also the DK still fits in this lineup because he can run in the same lane with the Venomancer. So
in a pretty scary way too. DK's Q is nothing to laugh at. It's so much damage, 300 damage if I remember correctly at level 4. One of the better nukes in the game.
Yeah, alongside one of the longest level 1 stuns in the game. If not, I think it is the longest reliable level 1 stun in the game.
It's the longest single target.
Yeah. There's an Io. We haven't seen that pick up in a while.
Io and Mirana. I wasn't expecting this draft to go either of those ways.
Yeah.
I expected at the very least the Mirana to go on the top 5's team. But Io, I think both of them are kind of doing mind games here, where Avanti's Angels picks up Mirana so that top 5 can't have it, and top 5 pick up the Io so that Avanti's Angels can't run.
Yeah, well, I don't know that Avanti's Angels would want the Io with the Nyx Assassin there. Nyx Assassin already counters that Nature's Prophet fairly hard. He's going to be really on his game. I think the Mirana really helps out dealing with some of this global strat, this I don't know where they are situation. The Timbersaw gank's really hard. The Nyx Assassin gank's really hard. Obviously, the IO with one will gank really hard.
So
the ability to have Moonlight Shadow globally will help the Avanti's Angels team survive a little bit, along with that long stun or that long distance stun coming out of the Sacred Arrow. Should allow a Nature's Prophet to be maybe a little less scared of moving out and doing some of the split pushing, although still extremely hard to do against the Nyx Assassin who's played well.
All right, so some pretty interesting bans coming out. I'm talking fast because I can't wait to see what top 5 are going to draft with the Wisp. But CK being taken away, that possibility of the Wisp CK going away.
There is
but
that Luna.
Disruptor getting taken out. Yep, the Luna you're talking about. But Disruptor counters the IO fairly well, since whoever the IO brings back. So who do you think is going to go with this IO? I'm kind of hoping for a Tiny, even though probably won't happen.
I love IO Tiny. IO Tiny is my favorite IO combination. I don't think that's what they'll go with. They'll probably go with... Oh,
yes!
There it is!
Oh, man, I'm so excited. One of my favorite combos in the game.
I agree.
Of all time. And you know what? This is going to be fun to watch the Nature's Prophet have to deal with this IO Tiny. It's Rat Dota City in this game right now. So,
what a great pick. A Tiny, I can't express how great of a pick I think this is for top 5. They have so little late game, but then they pick up the Tiny, who is arguably the hardest late game carry with push potential in the game because of his ability to get siege damage with the Ganem Scepter. Other than maybe Syllabear, his push and late game potential, in my opinion, outdoes just about any other carry. But then you give him the overcharge from the IO. That means that top 5 can rat Dota out, despite the fact that they have a mid-game team otherwise. Completely early mid-game, the Tiny saves their draft for the late game, gives them a fallback plan, and he can also be played as a ganker or as a straight farming carry. And depending on how their game goes, they'll probably rotate him through one or both of those roles.
All right, so we have a pause going out right now, and you were talking about as far as late game pushes go. Yeah, you're right. Tiny is probably one of the best ones in the game, but you can't discount the fact that there is a Furion on the opposite team. So, I mean, this is going to come down to, if it doesn't come down to who wins the early to mid game, if it stays relatively even through that, the late game is going to be really interesting to watch because, I mean, you've got the Luna, who's pushing a lane very fast. You've got the Death Prophet, who's pushing very fast. The Nature's Prophet, who's pushing very fast. And then you got to go against the Tiny, who is probably going to be the fastest of all of them.
Yeah. As we do move into the game, just want to remind everyone that this is the lower bracket finals for CEVO. We do have Avanti's Angels versus top 5. For those of you who are in Dota TV, if you do stop by twitch.tv/playcevo, it is linked for item drop, so you can double or increase, I think it's double, but somehow increase your chances of getting item drops. For those of you who are watching the Twitch channel, if you do have a ticket, go ahead and pop it up in Dota TV as well, and you will have increased odds of item droppage. We are moving out of the draft and into the game now.
Yep.
And as we were saying, AA is moving through with a push strategy. It looks like top 5 has more of a 4-for-1 gank into a Rat Dota style strategy. We'll see how they want to play it. Let's run through some of our players while we're having some of these technical difficulties.
First thing first, we're just going to go through. This is the lower bracket finals between top 5 and Avanti's Angels. Rounding out Season 3. Season 4 has been announced. If you want to go ahead and register for that, CEVO.com or So now we can go ahead. I'll go ahead for Avanti's Angels. We have Avanti himself going to be picking up the Venomancer. Meanwhile, on the Death Prophet, Jenkins will be playing that one. Dolphin on the Mirana.
Thanks.
Shredder will be shredding towers with the Luna. And last but certainly not least, we have Fact Fiction on the Nature's Prophet.
For top 5, we're going to see the off-lane Timbersaw played by Wrong, but it feels so right. We've got Fly taking mid Nyx Assassin, old school Dota 1 style. This is probably my favorite call so far this game. They've got Shanks running around, pulling out the Shiv on the Crystal Maiden. We've got Teacher D on the IO, and for the farming Tiny, we've got ZZZ 1, 2, 3. We're having another pause here. We will be moving forward here very shortly. Love this mid Nyx Assassin choice against the Nature's Prophet. Once again, makes it so hard for him to come to his full potential as a split pusher.
Yep. Nyx Assassin's going to get fast levels out of that, which is going to mean his ganking potential is going to be really big. But and actually versus the Death Prophet, if he can time out those Crypt Swarms, he can do very well with his spiked Carapace and dodging those out. So as far as mids go, I think Nyx Assassin is going to be a very good one to run versus the Death Prophet pickup. We might even see some useful lanes because of it, although it's not exactly what I'd expect.
I love running that Nature's Prophet down in the safe lane. Not only does he have access to the jungle, so he's able to push all the way forward, move into the jungle, take a couple camps with treants, and then come back, making him... He'll be farming extremely hard. Oh, they're not actually running this. They are going to run it the way that I had originally anticipated. They had 3 heroes over here, and I thought they're going to do that aggressive tri-lane. They are going to do the defensive tri-lane. That's more standard, although not as... In my opinion, not as strong of a call for what they're going for. But it is the safer call. So
we got the track running Crystal Maiden with a haste rune, trying to scout out what the aggression is on Avanti's Angels, but she'll quickly walk into a really bad day, or run into a really bad day if she makes her way onto the high ground. And I think she realizes that there is a sentry ward going down.
Yeah, she actually has vision over to the high ground right now.
Yeah. She actually, they aren't dewarding anything. That's kind of a wasted sentry at the moment. It looks like Crystal Maiden, though, wants to place a ward, but I think at this point she knows that there are some shenanigans going down and might place a D-ward sometime soon just to get rid of those. Meanwhile, we got Mirana making her way up top. Wrong is just farming it up a little past, but there is an arrow, and he has to be careful about that.
Yeah, Dolphin's arrow placement here is going to be extremely important. She's obviously waiting to place down that sacred arrow on Wrong. Wrong's actually coming over, almost scouted out. Dolphin didn't.
And Wrong is actually his
surprised
positioning.
Dolphin doesn't back up a little bit.
Oh,
Wait for the 5-6 arrow, and Wrong's able to dodge it, no problem.
Yep. I was interested about his positioning there, Wrong's positioning. He was on the other side of the creeps facing the jungle, so that arrow had a very good chance of hitting if it had been thrown maybe a little bit earlier. But Wrong might be a little bit more careful about where he's positioned now that he knows that a Mirana is going to be stalking him. Meanwhile, mid lane, Fly absolutely draining Jenkins' mana.
Yeah, this is going to be a hard lane for Death Prophet. Death Prophet will be able to grab last hits with the just auto attack. She's got good base damage. She's running 62 base damage, plus she's got a Null Talisman. So, not awful. Or, excuse me, it's 59 base damage plus the Null Talisman. So, not an awful place to be. But it will be very hard for her to harass down the Nyx Assassin because she does not have the Crypt Swarm available. And Nyx Assassin is going to be able to consistently mana burn and has Spike Carapace to get away.
Yep,
so
he's actually winning in CS right now, only by a little bit, but that margin should be increasing as time goes on. Bottom lane, it looks like Nature's Prophet. He pushed the wave a little bit and was disrupting the pull with his Treants just to try to get some extra XP out of it. But as for what he's getting from the lane, I mean, he's level 3 right now, which isn't terrible, but he's winning out. And now there's a huge dive onto him. There looks to be, now there's an avalanche going down. He's going to get auto-attacked up. This should be enough to kill him. It's going to be Shanks to pick that one up and put it to the bank. Not exactly the hero you want to get the first blood. It's the tiny that you want, but it's still a kill. And now Shanks might actually be in trouble if the tower aggroes him, and it will not. So,
yeah, that's a free courier upgrade, though. It's not it's not the worst place in the world to let one of your supports grab that first blood. Upgrade the courier, make sure the wards are coming out, and make sure, especially for a team that's so aggression-oriented, getting supports early gold is actually fairly important.
And there's going to be a Gale out onto Wrong. The Lucent Beam actually keeps him from getting hit by the arrow, so a little bit of a miscommunication. He's going to Timber Chain out, but the auto attack shouldn't be enough.
Oh!
It's going to be Lucent on the
What a
edge
great
of the
placement
vision.
on that Lucent Beam. I thought he was going to get away. Not able to. I just want you to briefly take a look down and look at ZZZ123. Look at his mana. He used both Toss and Avalanche in that last gank. Between the Crystal Maiden and the Io's Tether, able to completely get his mana pool up in the amount of time that it took Nature's Prophet to get back to lane.
They're diving Timbersaw again on the top lane. He might die again in a very short amount of time. Dolphin's looking to scout him out, and they will find him, but now Dolphin might be the hunted. Nope, it's going to be Avanti. Body blocking in Wrong. Wrong trying to get away, but there's an arrow. It does miss. But all we need is one Lucent Beam. There is no mana. It doesn't matter. The glaive flies in. No TP support thus far, and now it comes in from Shanks a little bit too late. And Avanti might actually take a fall here. If he can get the Frostbite off, it could be a kill. Avanti, Shanks trying to do it. One attack will land and pick up the kill. So a little
Your
bit of a
fate
trade
was
there,
always
but
crystal
your
clear.
Timbersaw has died twice, and this game isn't looking very
Radiant's
good.
middle tower is under attack.
Yeah, to be 100% fair, this is the point in time. I mean, with AA's lineup, we knew they were going to ramrod down one of these
Oh, bottom
lanes.
lane, Timbersaw.
Radiant's
Getting
middle
caught
tower
out.
is under
Wow.
attack.
Or it was Nature's Prophet got cut out there. Yeah, and the fact that Nature's Prophet is trading in the same amount that Timbersaw is, and AA has a lineup designed specifically to absolutely dominate this point in time in the game. They want to push hard in this lane, play extremely defensively here, get that Nature's Prophet levels up. With a quick rotation, they're going to be able to take a lot of towers, but right now, they're actually down kills.
And you were talking about the Arcane Aura plus the Tether. I was just watching it, and that was replenishing Tiny's mana incredibly fast. It was clarity speed that it was going up.
Yeah, it's about 12 per second is what it comes down to.
Jenkins, he's got a Frostbite, and the Impale does land. Is there enough to kill him?
There's a courier!
Vendetta. The courier shouldn't fall, though. It does have a haste, and it is upgraded. There
They,
shouldn't be enough damage.
Yeah, they kind of stood there looking at it for a second. I think they might have been able to grab that if the Crystal Maiden attacked it.
It would have required at least 2 attacks from both of them, I think.
Yeah.
Which
Definitely not where you want your courier to be stopped.
Yeah. So Dolphins actually smoked up behind. There's a teleport in from the Death Prophet. The Venomous Gale does miss. Can they land the arrow? It looks like they can. It does hit, but there's no one in the vicinity, and now the low ground mischance is doing work, but Fly, he's going to have to deal with the Exorcism now, and it looks like D will be in to save his tail. So he's going to back out right there. Here are the quick rotations in. Both Shanks as well as Teacher D have made their way in to protect their Nyx Assassin. Won't fall, and that's pretty huge. You've committed 3 heroes to an unsuccessful gank.
Yeah, it's very, very hard to take more than 2 or 3 of those failed ganks in a lineup like this. What you're going to end up running into is just straight falling behind in levels, and you cannot afford that against the lineup that these guys are playing against.
Meanwhile, Tiny is free farming the bottom lane, going for one of my favorite builds, Phase Drums, nearly completed already at 6.5 minutes. That's going to make him an incredible superpower. Meanwhile, flying the top lane, throws out the Impale, but misses it, and he's going to have to get back eating a Lucent Beam.
It looks like mid is turning into a 2-on lane with the Wisp and Crystal Maiden holding off that Death Prophet. The Tiny's been left alone down bottom, but honestly, there's no reason for him not to be. With the Nature's Prophet retiring to the jungle, he's had way too much trouble in the early game. And the tri-lane up top still. Bottom lane is free farm for a Tiny, not the position you want to be. He's already level 7.
Yeah, and there were musical lanes, but not how I expect them to be. It's a tri-lane versus a pseudo tri-lane going on in the top lane right now, and it's disrupting the Luna quite a bit. She got 2 kills, but now her CS is slowed down a bit. Maybe she can make up for it with another kill. It looks like she won't. The arrow flies and misses. The Gale's slow, though, still racking up, and Wrong is just going to go ahead and Timber Chain to the nearest tree. Didn't really need it. It was a tower that was the MVP in that counter gank.
As it often turns out. A tower is an enemy that you don't want to underestimate, for sure.
Jenkins, he gets a Impale in the mid lane. The Vendetta damage is there, and he just gets blown to bits. A Death Prophet. One of those heroes that you need to snowball to be effective, and I don't see a snowball.
Top 5, they've moved into the ganking portion of this game much earlier than you usually see. And remember, before the game, I said top 5, one of the most aggressive teams that we see in CEVO. This is exactly what we're talking about.
Yep.
They've moved in sub 7 minutes into the rotating portion of this game, and they don't plan on stopping. Just because they have a Nyx Assassin and an IO, you would not necessarily expect them to move into this portion of the game quite this early, but they know that the only way to keep AA from absolutely demolishing their towers and setting the complete game pace is to make sure one of their heroes is dead all the time. Somebody has to be dying constantly, and so far they've been doing a pretty good job of keeping that up. 5 kills in 8 minutes.
Yeah, definitely. It totals out to 7 kills in 8 minutes, but it feels like there's been a lot more action than that. And mostly it's just because the kills that do happen after a lot of aggression. A lot of people stay alive, but Wrong, despite dying twice on, one after another, is still staying fairly well in this game. He's keeping his levels up, but not doing incredibly well. But the real ticking time bomb of this game, and we shift our vision down to the bottom lane, is this IO. He's at 350 out of 600 experience, getting very close to that level 6, and the Tiny is already out of control. Once you've got that global Tiny, it's going to get really, really hard for Avanti's Angles to come back out of this early game that they just absolutely got decimated in, aggression-wise.
Yeah, they really don't have to worry about doing too much other than just buying space for that Tiny. That's all they've got to work on. Top 5, getting enough space on that Tiny, and so far they're doing a wonderful job of it. He's already got phase boots and drums up.
Yeah.
He's already level 7. He's keeping up in levels with the mid, also with his opponent's mid. As the farming carry, in terms of net worth, he's top of the board. And top 5 doesn't look like they're going to be letting up on the aggression anytime soon.
So Avanti's Angles, they still have a Luna to rely on. She's got almost the Helm of the Dominator coming out, which is going to allow her to stack camps and try to come back. But mid lane, Avanti will take a fall.
Very nice.
And that's going to be just another Crystal Maiden Nyx gank. And that's the kind of scary thing
Radiant's
about
top
what
tower
top
is
5
under
have
attack.
drafted. Avanti's Angles are trying to go for a tower push, but even with
Dire's middle
Exorcism,
tower
they
is
just
under
can't
attack.
seem to find their power in this game. They still have the Luna, which we
Dire's
talked about,
structures are
is getting fairly
fortified.
strong, but they're pushing potential. At 9 minutes, still haven't taken a tower.
Yeah, Exorcism's going to drop down here before they manage to grab this tower. They could probably get it, but this Timbersaw is trying to make it hard for them. That was a very nice use of Glyph. It was perfectly timed to force off that Exorcism for the duration.
Dire's bottom tower is under
Meanwhile, you
attack.
just see how much damage this Tiny does. Every single time he punches a tower, you can see a tear drop from its non-existent eyes. It's getting beaten to death, rock to rock, and it's amazing to watch just how fast, even without his Aghanim Scepter, how fast he is able to just destroy towers.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he pumps out an incredible amount of damage. He's pumping out 170 or so damage, a little over 170 damage. Here at level 7, his base attack speed is going to be twice every 3 seconds, basically. So,
And once he gets
pumping out
probably getting a
340
Yasha,
damage
that's gonna
every
be
3
insane.
seconds.
Yep.
Dire's bottom tower
That's
has
incredible.
fallen.
He's got an incredible amount of DPS, only rivaled really by Treon in the early
Dire's
game.
bottom
But
tower
even
is
that
under
kind of
attack.
drops off as Tiny quickly outdoes. The rock beats a tree, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
So we've been watching
That's
Mirana.
paper beats rock, I guess, in the game, but that's not how it's working out here.
No, not at all. So we've been watching Mirana trying her hardest to make things happen, but her arrows
Got a
haven't been
gank attempt
exactly
bottom.
on point. Yep. And that's going to be a relocate, the first one of the game, and it's going to be a solo Wisp coming in.
Yes!
And that's going to net a kill. Avanti still alive, but the orb not hitting. He gets Spike Carapace up, there's a punch. Tiny barely coming in. Patrick Stewart getting a kill off that one, or getting an item off that one, but a double kill for the Tiny. And this Tiny has a point booster. It's 11 minutes into the game, and the Tiny has a point booster.
He just walked past that Centaur Warrunner, or the Centaur Conqueror, excuse me, with absolutely no care in the world. They should know that this is being stacked up for the Luna now. If they didn't already, which honestly it should be on their mind because of Glaives, they should know that AA is going to try to make up some ground with stacks. But they also saw the Centaur walking up here. I don't know that this is AA's most prudent move, trying to use this Centaur to stack up. If the Tiny's going to be aware of it, he's going to have his Aghanims up pretty shortly. We're looking at a sub 20-minute Aghanims with the phase boots and the drums.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that rolled out. And he almost died here in the enemy jungle, but he got the clutch TP, and Mirana did already use the arrow beforehand. So a little bit of a miscommunication on that area, but that's still a very good escape by Tiny. And now he's still without a death, 2-0-2. And he's got quite a bit of
Dire's
gold.
top tower is under
There's an
attack.
Exorcism being popped in mid. They're really looking to take out this mid tier 1 tower. But it's dropping fast. They're actually going to get this. There is no glyph available. Yeah, this is the first tower to go down for
Radiant's middle tower
Avanti's
has
Angels. And they can
fallen.
start to try to
Dire's
make
top
up
tower is
their
under
deficit.
attack.
Speaking of, we take a look. It's 5,000 gold in favor of top 5. XP is just approaching 7,500. And the game couldn't look scarier for the Angles of Avanti.
Yeah, moving 2 to 8 in this position, we wouldn't typically expect, yes, top 5 is going to have more kills. Oh, and the Nyx is going to move on Shredder up top. He manages to grab a beautiful kill. There's a nice stun coming in. Hits wrong for a lot of damage. And Venomancer, Avanti, and the Mirana are going to move in on this and take wrong for their trouble. That ends up being a one-on-one trade. That's not the worst position to be in, but trading off that Luna at this point is really not something that AA can be affording.
That's trading a Timbersaw that literally got nothing out of the early game for your one hope to win this game.
Yeah.
So that is not the greatest trade at all. And now Luna is going to get slowed down, just respawning now, but her last hits are very quickly diminishing with respect to Tiny's, who's at 80 and 14 right now and only getting more. I mean, bursting down an entire wave with his combo and then regenerating that mana completely back in just a couple of seconds.
Yeah, she's behind in net worth, the Tiny, by 2,200. She's behind the Nyx Assassin by 1,200. If she doesn't manage to catch up, Nyx Assassin already has boots to travel up. It looks like might be working on 4-staff, maybe a day gone.
I would have 4-staff. Here's another relocate coming in, this time with the rock. And here they go, straight in on Jenkins, who's got no survivability at the moment. And Eclipse gets used, but hits on one hit wrong. Tiny's going to clean up, and actually it's going to be Nyx cleaning up Jenkins, bringing him back with the IO. Avanti will get stunned up by Fly, but here comes Wrong to secure the kill. They will get Avanti. Shredder stunned up by the Spike Carapace, will get frostbitten up.
Triple kill!
Get it. Probably wouldn't have lived anyway with Wrong's Timber Chain. That's 12 and 3 right now at 14 minutes, and you know, quite honestly, I didn't expect this game to fall so
is
far
under
out of
attack.
Avanti's hands. They've been
Dire
so hard in this
structures
tournament
are
up to
fortified.
date, and they're just losing the aggression game.
This is literally free fall status. We're talking a 4-to-1 kill advantage in top 5's favor. They also have a significant tower advantage at this point. They're going to have 2 towers for 1 and a tier 2 nearly down, despite the fact that AA has a better pushing lineup. If they don't do something to turn this game around fast, I'm talking a little bit of smoke, manage to get a kill, Fly from they absolutely have to control Fly, which is not happening right now. Fly does bend that up, throws out the stun. Dolphin is going to get away thanks to the joys of Leap, and she's actually going to throw out the Sacred Arrow. It is going to hit. Oh!
Tower is under attack.
Just in case. Arrow does miss, and he is going to try to TP away. There is no stun. So, Nyx Assassin will get away, and Shanks is now on. Yep, Shanks is also going to be able to TP away, no problem.
So, even if they, you're right, it was a Dagon, by the way, and
Yeah.
this is going full pub stomp right now, but
Well, when you throw your Nyx Assassin mid and he has more farm than your opponent's carry, why not go for a Dagon? He's going to be able to tear Shredder apart for the rest of this game unless they manage to buy at least 5 minutes for Shredder to farm pretty much uninterrupted.
so if they pull out the pest control for the Nyx Assassin, yeah, they can feel pretty good about that, right? Well, unfortunately, no amount of pesticide is going to stop the Rock, which is 200 gold away from an active scepter.
Yep, and it's going to be
Oh,
out.
he's got it.
Yeah, it is there.
He is buying his active
is on the way.
Clocked at
Dire's bottom tower is under
minutes.
attack.
This Tiny has 1 point in his ult, and it has
Dire's
an
bottom
active scepter
tower
already.
has fallen.
We're looking at 2,000 net worth per minute.
Let's take a look at this. Is this where he carries?
2,000 net worth per minute for Tiny.
Yeah, that's crazy. That is absolutely crazy. We can take a look. Let me see his GPM.
naturally
And I missed a
sick.
kill, but I mean, we're talking about a 500 GPM Tiny who just picks up the creep. He's got an Aghanim Scepter, and he's holding it. He's barely holding it with one hand. Like, this tree is facing straight up. He
Yeah.
is trying to plant a tree every step he
Dire's
takes.
middle tower
He's using
is
that as a
under
walking
attack.
stick. It's not even a bludgeon. He just has bad knees.
And now we've got a tether relocate
Oh.
going up in the heart of the enemy right now. In the middle of a clip, they don't care. They're going straight in. A double kill immediately. Dolphin getting wrecked. And that's going to be a triple, well, an almost triple for Tiny. And I
You
don't
gotta
even have
imagine
much
this
to
is a
say.
GG call. Fly really missed out on an opportunity to get a kill there.
Dire's
Trying to get to the
middle
high ground
tower
before
has
throwing the stun,
fallen.
even though he knew where Nature's Prophet was. Kind of questionable. That was a there's the GG.
GG's
Doesn't really
call.
matter. 16-3.
I was going to mention that. 16-3, 17 minutes is the official game time of that GG. 17 and a half, it turns out to be.
Victory.
Wow. What went wrong in that game for Avanti's Angels?
Well, they really needed that Nature's Prophet to play more defensively. The fact that he was unable to sustain himself in lane means that he had to retire to the jungle. If he retired to the jungle, Tiny had free farm, and it meant Tiny's supports were able to go and roaming gank around 6 minutes rather than the 10 minutes or so that we would normally expect him to be able to roam. If that Nature's Prophet had stayed in lane and played defensively, at least one of those supports would have had to stay with the Tiny to make sure that there was no ganks incoming. Short of that,